We'll go full live now. Hey guys, welcome to, I think this is episode number 64 of DankShrine. With me is one of the best community casters, if not the best community caster, Anansi. Now, am I saying it right? Is it Anansi?
Yeah, Anansi, yeah.
Okay. Because I've
So
heard,
I'm proud of you. Most people, you said it first time too. Most people are too afraid.
because I've heard different pronunciation, but I'm like, okay, if I'm looking at it, that's what I think it is. So that's how I usually just go with my gut on those. Because some people's names in StarCraft are hard, right? Because it looks
Oh
like
yeah.
one thing, but they may pronounce it like completely different. Especially like these French Canadians. Let me tell you, man, it looks one way, pronounce a completely different way, and you're completely wrong 100% of the time.
Yeah, 100%, 100%, man. Like my general approach, if it's like a new player, is to just take a stab at it and then be like, all right, chat, correct me. And they break it down syllable by
Yeah,
syllable.
it's
And I'm
like
like, all right.
how is it? Like I have a player on my team who has a name like that because it's spelled like Goucher,
Yeah.
but that's not how you say it. It's like a French pronunciation. I'm not even going to try to say it because even though he's told me like how to pronounce it a couple times, I'm still like,
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I always mispronunciate it. So
Yeah, absolutely.
it was funny. I think it was Fear Dragon was casting one. It was the Filthy Cup, and he was like, "Oh, it's Goucher." And then I was like, "Oh, actually, it's this." And I typed like the mispronunciation, and he's like, "Oh, apparently it's Goucher, which is not right." But so then that's what he started calling him, and I was like, "Actually, it's Gucci." Like it's pronounced like this, and then Fear Dragon's like, I have no idea what to call this guy. Like, I'm sorry, like Toast is trolling me. Like, I have no idea what this guy's name is. Like, I don't know. So, but yeah, man, great to have you on. Thanks to our sponsor, Sloth Esports and Scythe Esports, for obviously putting the show together. Now, if you're wondering what's below me, where it says like Elman and you can see like the Matcherino and Blizzard page, that's actually for the Nation Wars stream. So we're actually going to kind of be able to keep you guys updated like with the scoreboard as that. As it goes. So we don't want you to be able to, have to miss anything. So I'm just screen capping that. I'm not stealing anything from them. We're not going to, there's going to be no audio from that stream, but just so you can see that little scoreboard down there at the bottom for when it pops up and that we can keep you updated with the score as it goes on. Right now, I think it's Hungary versus Canada. I think it's 3-1 right now. So I think Hungary has one last chance. I think they have their revive and then that's it.
Mm. But Canada really is one of the favorite foreigner
Yeah.
countries lately.
Yeah, and let's actually just start with Nation War since that's going on currently. Like that's live right now. Interesting that Scarlet's not playing this year, right? Like, I mean,
Oh wow.
Canada's strongest player is absent. So this year it's Jig, Bio Ice, and No Regret. So still a pretty strong lineup, but not Canada's strongest lineup by any means, right?
Yeah.
So, and I think Hungary actually they've taken one map so far. I'm not familiar with the Hungarian players, so they'll have to forgive me. So, but I know that one of the Terran players was able to take a map. So, and I think all they have left is their revive. So they're going to play on like Catalyst. Looks like right now. So, and this is their last chance. So, and Nation Wars, if you're not familiar, basically Nation Wars works like this. So basically, they play. I think you play 3 matches and then you get a revive. You get to revive one of your players that was already beaten, and then they play like the ace match if it gets for that. So that's I think that's a pretty cool format actually. It's pretty interesting to have that because it's like, do you start with like your best player and then just see how he does, and then if he gets knocked out, then let the other two kind of play it out, and then revive your best player, or do you save the best player for last, and then if he gets beaten, you just revive him again? So
Yeah.
I
And
think
then like you have a thing where do you set up like a sniper player
right.
specifically to like take out their pro player? It just kind of becomes yeah. I think we had something similar with like the team championship where sometimes like the players would just like one team will have one really good player and he would just like clean sweep his way through. And part of the problem is like if you can't take him out, he actually builds momentum
Right.
and like he feels more confident because he's like, look, I've just won like 4 games in a row. But the people going up against him are like, oh god, he knocked out that guy on our team and he's really good. And how am I going to beat him if he couldn't? And it's just this really scary thing. But
Yeah, it becomes like a momentum thing, like you're saying, but then also it just becomes like scary, right? Where it's like, oh man, I don't know if I can actually beat this guy. Like, even if he's like on the same level as you, it's just like as they bulldoze people, it just becomes more and more like daunting of a task, right?
yeah, absolutely.
So it gets tough. So, and then I forget. Let me see if I can't pull it up. I'm trying to remember who's on deck for this week for Nation Wars. Let me see if I can't pull that up.
Yeah, to be honest, I've been a little bit out of the loop with Nation Wars. Like, I don't actually know who's been playing. I was a little bit gutted because New Zealand couldn't participate because we did have three damn Grandmaster players.
Well, yeah, because of who is there? Seether, right? Seether's.
No, he's Australian. So we
Oh
have
my bad.
Crimson, Mighty
Crimson.
Kiwi,
Oh, Mighty Kiwi's who I was
um,
thinking of. Yep. My bad.
Voj, but Voj didn't join in. He let us down, man. Disappointed. I would have joined in, but I'm not Grandmaster.
Vosh should have done it. Come on, he can take a night off from casting, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Would have been
yeah.
way better for him.
Well, he's been doing Pro League lately.
Pro League. Well, so and he plays for Downfall, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yep. So Nation Wars just started though. Just started on Wednesday, so it just started today actually. And the first match was Australia and New Zealand, and then we had Norway versus Switzerland, and then today's the last. Right now is the last match actually for Canada Hungary. So this is the last set right now that's playing. And then I'll just go over the thing since I got it up. So then tomorrow we have China versus Croatia, Ukraine versus Chile, Finland versus the Czech Republic, and Mexico versus Denmark. Mexico versus Denmark, I think that's probably your matchup of all of those. I think the other ones are kind of like, yeah, okay, maybe Czech Republic, or something, or maybe Chile versus Ukraine. I think you kind of get. I think there's a lot of good Chilean players, and obviously there's a lot of good Ukrainian players. So that could be a good one too.
Like Bly. I can't remember off the top of my head the Chile players, but I know like when I see their name, I'll be like, that guy's good.
I feel like, and I could be wrong. I think Jarpi's from Chile, and Jarpi's pretty good. I could be getting that. I know. Obviously, it's somewhere south.
Okay.
But I don't know if it's Chile or not. But anyway, I do know that Chile has some pretty good players. Then we have Poland versus Austria, Netherlands versus Peru. Netherlands versus Peru will be pretty good. I'm excited for that one. Then we have USA versus Bulgaria, France versus Italy. That one will be good. We'll get to see.
Yeah. Rainer again.
Rainer play. Yeah, versus maybe Clem. Wait, did Clem
Stefano?
get Stefano? Yep. No. Stefano would be playing for the. Did he make it through the French team? Maybe he did. I don't remember. I don't remember seeing the rosters. I can't remember. I can't recall everyone right off the top of my head. But
Ajapi is Chilean. Yeah.
Okay. But then for France, for sure, you have Drogo, right? Like that's still someone who's great to watch. Like, DNS. I think maybe he made it through. I'm not for sure. And then finally for Saturday, and this is all for obviously for the first round, for the first brackets, and then we'll obviously, we'll see later matchups. But then we have Sweden versus Vietnam, China versus Russia, Brazil versus Bolivia, and then Germany versus Spain. And then Korea had a first round bye, so we won't see Korea until the next round.
Not till the quarterfinals, and then they have every single way.
Right, exactly. But it gives it more opportunity for maybe some some of these other teams to kind of put something together, and they can kind of show off what they got. So I'm looking forward to a week of Nation Wars. It looks like it actually just finished, so I'm gonna go ahead and just get rid of this little screen now that it's done. So,
I mean, we've been so lucky with the tournaments we had. I mean, we had IM Katowice straight to WSG. We have GSL going on. We have ASL heading up. We have the Nation Wars right now. It's just been non-stop. And not to mention all of the online cups. I mean, it's been fantastic.
Oh, yeah. Every single day there's just another online cup, right? Like OSC obviously puts on stuff daily. Then you have stuff that the Gauntlet puts on. Then you've got base trade stuff that goes on. You've got, whatever else, Proxy Tempest. I mean, that's partner, but you know what I mean? There's just literally there's something to play in every single day, it almost reminds me of back when there was like the Playhem dailies and stuff, and like they used to have like literally there was just something every single day, So
yeah, absolutely.
And it's nice, right? It's nice for the players. It's nice for us that you can't get enough content. It's always good to, just have something to watch.
Cool. Apparently I'm way loud. I'll just turn my mic down.
I lowered it.
Okay, all good. Um, but yeah, I mean, like for example, obviously I do a lot of the casting for the online tournaments. I'm doing, let's see, Monday I do OSC Melee, OSC C.
Hmm.
Friday I do Proxy Tempest with Sure Should I, and Masters Group D for the for OSC,
Right.
and I do on Sunday Platy Pro and the finals for the Masters Cup. So that's 6 tournaments a week. Oh, and I do community opens on off weeks.
Right.
So
Yeah.
6 or 7 different tournaments. And then the rest of the days, you might be like, well, you could do more casts. Well, like, no, the rest of the days I need to work so I can stay alive. So
Right.
I mean, there is just so much going on right now. It's kind of hard to keep track of. Like, and you're right. Like, we have like because I'm doing 2 of those casts a day, a lot of the time I get like players go from one tournament into the next, and I'll let them know on stream like, hey, sign up to this tournament as well, and they just like we get to see them come in again and again and again, and you really get to. I'm very fortunate to get the chance to actually look at their play style and look how they adapt between different players from different regions, and I mean, it's a lot of fun, and I've been getting really hyped up about it. And it's hard not to, right?
Yeah.
With the big tournaments going on in the background, with all of these players slowly improving. We had Hut like sneak on through into the WSG, and it's just been amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the one thing I wanted to ask you about because obviously you do like a lot of the community cups. Who's someone that you've seen kind of like go from like one level to a completely different level? Like who's on the rise like in that community scene? Because obviously you're getting a chance to see these guys in multiple tournaments, across these platforms, and then obviously because you do so much. So who's someone that's really coming up?
Oof. Oh man, that's a that's a tough question. A lot of people, a lot of people. Let's see. I mean, we brought up Jarpy earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Jarpy has been a powerhouse. Also goes by the name Jens.
Jens,
He's
yeah.
got fantastic late game. I love his style of just kind of sit back, and I call it the bunker economy. So if someone tries to all in him, he just like throws down a bunker at every ramp and then salvages them, and then he just if he gets to that mid to late game, he's very hard to beat strategically because he's
Yeah.
got good positioning, good macro, and I think good enough micro to like to pull himself through. Like obviously, players are on a spectrum, right? And it's hard to have all the things. You look at Beyond to have the best micro, and you look at Dark to have really good defense and also good macro, and you have Innovation who is the best macro, right? But I find like little combinations of each actually do really well. But other players coming up, I mean, like Future, for example, another Terran player from US who's been playing in so many tournaments. He's just been going on it, like, and he only really just turned 16, I think. So now he can qualify for the BlizzCon,
Right.
and he is one of the best players in US right now with his godly micro. It's been really cool. I actually love when he cheeses because he like when he cheeses, you're getting like a showcase of his micro. It's like a little micro arena, and he's
Right.
like, "Wow, just look at this guy with Reapers, just pick off units left and right."
Yeah.
Um, let's see, we got other players we got Demi from India,
Mm-hmm.
who I mean, he played in like 150 tournaments last year. Like he has just been grinding it out, and I think he qualified for I think it was IM Katowice or something like. I swear I saw him pop up there, and he's been practicing a lot, and it's been showing in these online tournaments because he's just been an absolute powerhouse. He's really hard to kill in the early
Yeah.
game, but like I call him like the Gundy Zerg, right? He's just kind of peaceful. He sits back and he just like wants to build up his army, and then he prepares himself for a big attack, which is always really nice.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm missing so many players here, but though, I mean, off the top of my head, that's 3, right?
Yeah, no, I mean all those guys are great. I mean, I think Jarpy is like the best player like on Dust right now. Like even over like some of those Koreans that are on the team. I think he's like the scariest player, and he plays at a super high level. I'm actually pretty excited to see what he can do. He's someone that you could definitely see. If he could get to like if he could qualify or even get through like an open bracket like a WCS Austin or Montreal, like he definitely have the opportunity to go pretty far. I think. Like he has good online stats. So I'd be really excited to to see what he could do.
Yeah. I honestly, I think it will be kind of like a little while until we really get players breaking through. I think because this year in particular, we've been having like just more tournaments than I've ever seen. Like
Yeah.
last year was a lot, but and the year before that, it was just kind of like 2016. Things were just kind of getting started.
Right. Yeah.
So I remember casting for OSC like before there was even a channel, and it was the most like um just kind of spur of the moment like do it yourself DIY kind of thing. Just like I was actually a player in those tournaments, and they would get knocked out, and it'd be like, oh right, oh let's jump in and talk about these players.
Right.
And then OSC of course like made its own channel. I mean, Proxy Tempest and Gauntlet was still going on, but OSC just went like just balls to the walls, man. They just so many tournaments. I don't know how they manage it. And
Yeah.
then this year, just you're right, man. There's just tournament every single day, multiple tournaments every single day.
Yeah. I can't imagine what Eddie's schedule was like putting all that stuff together while simultaneously running, OSC Elite and stuff, and like doing setting stuff up for those guys, like, and then he works full time too. So I don't even know how he's alive. Like,
Um,
you
so
want
he admins sometimes, and he would send me a message like, "Oh, I can admin to about like 4 a.m. in the morning, but I got work at 6." And I'm just like, "What?
yeah.
Are you
Yeah, he's
serious?"
crazy. So, but he's. I mean, he talk. I think I know. I think it's true. I think Eddie's probably one of the most hardworking behind the scenes people, right? Because like he's never really like at the forefront of anything. Like you don't really see him all that often, except for maybe when he does like the OSC show. That's probably about the only time he even shows his face. But like he's always doing something. Working on OSC stuff or OSC Elite stuff. So and just obviously like a big pillar of like not only of the online community but the Australian community too. So he does, just so much. So I think it's nice to show him a little love. You guys should tweet at Eddie and just thank him for putting the OSC together, right? And for making sure that you know, it, they do everything that they do.
Yeah, 100%. And I try to like join the cast to be like, if Eddie like, because he always posts like the Mecherino in the chat, just because
Yeah.
like again he's just such an awesome dude. And okay, there are two things here that I think a lot of people don't realize. Like the first is like when I say that Eddie is like the guy who organizes everything, he's the man behind the scenes. Like I don't think people realize like what you just said. He does. He organizes a team. He organizes the OSC. He does admins. He comes on the chats. He's
Yeah.
always setting up these new tournaments. He sets up the bracket. It's just like this guy is a maniac, and he really deserves so much more attention. But they're like, the other thing is, no, it's lost. I'm gone. I was just too happy to think about like Eddie. It's just he's amazing.
Yeah, he just like I said, yeah, just does so much. Just a great guy, does so much. He's Eddie's the best. So,
Mm. Oh,
but
sorry. The other thing was like just another thing that people are. I'm not sure if they know this 100%, but it's like when we're asking people to put in the dollar for the Mecherino, like that is only for the players. Like, and the way I've started to kind of realize it is if people go ahead and put in their dollar for free to the Mecherino,
mhm.
they're making their prize pool that much better, and then more players want to sign up, more players want to like compete more and more, and it's just actually making the tournament better.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, because if the more obviously the bigger the prize pool, the more people you attract, the better skill level of people you attract, and then the better games you're gonna get. So no, 100%, and it's so easy, right? Like you type in the code and hit enter. I think I
Mm.
even did on stream once, like to show everyone, like I'm like guys, like this is how easy it is. Like I click here, and I'm done. Like
Yeah,
I donated $1. Like it's easy.
yeah.
So
They're having those sign-in things in the past where it's like, are you sure you want to use your Facebook account? And then it's like, Facebook is wondering to know what this website was to use your account and all this stuff. It keeps going, it keeps going. But like,
yeah.
yeah, with the Metrio, like you're already logged in with Twitch. You hit the Twitch button and it's like, oh, look, you're already in with Twitch. Immediately, like just, boop.
Yep. And it doesn't even do anything. It's just to track that you're an actual person, basically. It's just like,
Yeah,
okay, are you
yeah.
real? Yep. Okay, there we go. Done. Like, that's it. Like, we don't post for you. We don't read your data. Like, It's literally just like a very like. I mean, they could just have the "I am not a robot" checkbox. I mean, that would literally
Yeah.
be like the next step below what they do. So there's at least like a minimum level of verification. So I think we can all appreciate that. You know, no one would want to have a bunch of spam bots like spamming tournaments and stuff. You know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, actually, like the reason they don't do that is again like to make sure that one person doesn't just come in there and use all the codes. Like,
Right.
I think for them it's like a tracker of like how many people really want to see this tournament. And when all the Match Arena codes get used every single time, it's like, oh, a lot of people want to see this tournament. A lot of people want to support the players too.
Yeah. Exactly. So then, then Match Reno maybe even wants to help out. They're like, all right, well, maybe we want to put this on the front page of Match Reno and let, more people take a look at this or, whatever. So,
Mm.
but yeah, obviously it's really cool that, he does everything. And obviously that Match Reno, and they have the things where you can buy, like, you spend $30 and you get the awesome Match Reno hoodie, but then that also goes to the prize pool, So,
Yeah,
like, they
yeah,
do
yeah.
great stuff like that, too.
Mm.
So,
I like with the last team championship, they had deals like donate $15, but you get an hour with like Pig,
mhm.
and you get like replay packs from like Cham, and you get coaching with like Mia Micah or 2v2s with Mia Micah. Do you know how fun that would be? Like
Yeah,
2v2s
definitely.
with Mia Micah, and he's like, hey, hey, hey. So what we're gonna do this game is we're gonna get very fast borrow into Overlord drop, into Overlord speed, and follow that up with Baneling drops. Like that's the kind of thing Mio would
Yeah.
do, man.
Speaking of Mio, just to transition a little bit, I understand too, and maybe you hadn't heard this yet, but apparently he's actually parted ways with Rise now. Apparently something happened. I'm not for sure on all those details, but there was some sort of a I don't know. It seems like it was like a miscommunication or something. Like someone didn't understand something, and it led to them just being like, you know what, like I think we should just move on. So, yeah, obviously it just like recently happened. So, and I actually heard from an inside source that apparently he's actually going to one of the Australian teams, one of the pro league teams, is actually reaching out to him and trying to scoop him up. I think that's great. I mean, I think he's probably what, like, hands down the best player in Vietnam. Like I
Yeah.
don't I
There's no disputing that at all.
Yeah, I mean, and he's what, top 100 like GM on Korea. Like I mean, the guy's got like a massive amount of talent. Like plays his own unique style. Like I mean, there's so many things you could say about him.
Uh, there is, man. He's an absolute hero. He plays in almost every single tournament.
Yeah,
He's like in a household name, really.
yeah, and he'll
Uh,
he'll always land on his feet, right? Like that's someone that people are definitely gonna like want on their team. So he should recover from this just fine, and be able to do just fine with another team.
yeah. In fact, I almost see this as a way, like, me or Mike. Like, here's the thing: if you go for a smaller team, you actually end up quite better off because your team is more focused
Right.
and the people in there are like really devoted towards practice partners. And
Hmm.
it's kind of funny because a bigger team is actually the reverse. It's kind of just like, oh well, I got this name on my thing, but all these players are just kind of doing their own thing. They're all just kind
Right.
of playing all these different tournaments. So, for example, like when I commentate teams like SYF and Downfall and those sort of like smaller but more focused teams, you could see that a lot of them have practiced amongst each other. And like we brought up like Vaj is on Downfall, and obviously I do a lot of commentating with him because he's another New Zealand dude. And he says like a lot of them are Protoss players, and they discuss between each other strategies, and they practice with each other Protoss builds and stuff like that. So they actually end up a lot better because of it,
Hmm.
because now they're just like it's like a pool of learning rather than just one person just laddering and figuring it out for themselves.
Right, right. Yeah, when it gets so big, it kind of feels like you said, it's more like instead of like a team playing against a team, it's like everyone like just happens to be sponsored by the same people, but it's all like on an individual basis, because like unless you're friends with someone, people aren't available for customs, they're not interested in that, they're kind of doing their own thing, whatever, whatever. So I agree. I think the smaller size is actually I think that's the better way to go if you're looking to really improve your players, and then to keep them tight knit, right? To keep them, actually liking each other. I think a lot of times when you have too big of teams, you actually get like a lot of drama because of that. Because of like you almost get like the cliques within the team. It's like, oh, these guys
Yeah,
always hang out and they only practice with each other and they don't really like this
yeah,
person. And whereas if you only have like five guys, like guys, like I need you all to get along because this is it.
yeah,
So we all
yeah.
need to practice. We just need to get over it. and play with each other and get it done. So
Mm. I almost also find like with the smaller teams, they attract a lot of the like-minded players as well.
mhm.
Like I think of like SYF, right? And the Zerg players they have like Crimson, Mighty Kiwi, Chase, and the Terran players like Sether and Hart. I don't know, like there's a Zor. I think he's SYF.
I th-
Um,
I oh yeah, wait, no. I was gonna say is I thought one of those guys is actually teamless. Maybe Crimson is teamless right now.
really?
I
Huh.
could be wrong. I felt like I was looking at a list and I saw someone, or maybe it just wasn't updated on like their Liquipedia.
Old
That
Uncle
could be it
Ben.
too. Uncle Ben.
Yeah, yeah, he's I think he's like 25 or 26, which people give him crap because like he's like, "Oh, you're so old," but he's really not, but it's kind of funny
Yeah,
because he's just been around. I think I saw a Twitter post from him earlier, like he's been around for 13 years, man. Like he's done it all.
yeah, yeah. No, definitely. So, but yeah, like obviously, like I said, there's just so many teams and stuff. So it's cool. We were talking a lot about Zerg players. Let's actually talk about the Zerg patch because we were talking kind of about dropper lords and stuff.
Yeah.
So what are you thinking about this? I think it was unneeded, to be honest. I don't think enough people like I don't like I definitely saw it happen, right? Like I definitely saw like like the elevator lings and stuff, and like I saw that happening, right? But I don't feel like it was happening at the super high level. So I think this is really like a patch for like the masses, right? Like this is not for like at the highest level. This is really for like you know your online players and and your casual base that were having problems defending this, like Protoss players and stuff, basically.
Yeah, there was that post on Reddit earlier when Livy B it was the first time she didn't read the patch notes and she was like trying to like morph the Overlord into a drop lord. She's like, why is it not doing it? And just what? But no, it took me a while to kind of understand why that was a problem. It took me quite a long time to figure that one out. The biggest reason is that it forces Protoss to play Stargate every single game because when you go for like a Twilight opening into like Robo or something like that, usually you only have like one unit in the wall.
Sure.
So if someone drops you, you are super vulnerable.
Right.
So if you try to go for anything that isn't Stargate and your opponent drops you, you will lose every time. But then the other reason why people don't drop every single game is, well, if they lose every single time they go Twilight and Robo, then they're forced to go Stargate. And when they go for Stargate, they get the Phoenix first to
Right.
clear up the Drop Lords or Overlords. It's not to supply block the Zerg, it's to stop them from
Dropping. Yeah.
dropping lings into your base and killing you.
Right.
And then there's the Oracle to help defend against any
Right.
follow-up all-ins.
Right. I
So
don't.
when you're forced to do that every single game, the meta constricts, and it's just Protoss. Like it's easy to counter them if you know that they're doing that every game.
Right. I don't know. I guess at the same time though, like it seems like the other thing Protoss was doing to win their games though is really going for like the charge lot Archon, like 7 gates, 9 gates off of 2 or 3 bases, right? And it's kind of like that feels like it's the same, right? Like to me, it's like
Mm.
that just seems like the go-to strategy, and like it's winning, so they keep doing it. But it's also like I think that's why Zergs were dropping them, so heavily is because like okay,
Yeah,
like if I do this, I'll win. Because if I don't, like I'm just gonna get charged out Archon and lose.
yeah,
So I feel like
uh,
in a way, like we're still like constricting the gameplay. It's just from a different angle now.
yeah. There's a lot of like you can defend that charge lot all in quite handily with roaches, and I think that all in is trying to punish a Zerg trying to go for very fast Hydroling Bane.
Hmm.
And the reason we see that all in a lot, because if the Zerg goes for a Hydroling Bane attack, you can't hold your third. And if you try to hold your third, you're going to lose like pretty much your entire army and your third base, and then lose.
Yeah.
Because you will not get Storm out in time. So it's funny because these all-ins are designed to kind of like the Zerg wants to open with an all-in drop to punish Twilight opening, and then like so Protoss are forced to go to Stargate.
Right.
But if they think the Zerg player is not going to drop them, then they go for the Twilight to all in the Zerg to stop them from going to Hydroling Bane attack.
Yeah.
And I think there seems to be like this EVP matchup in a nutshell. which is why sometimes it's a bit lackluster. It always seems to be very one-sided, one way or the other. Like
Right.
it's such a snowballing matchup. We've all seen games where a Protoss player just gets mass arc on Immortal, like Vibe nicknamed it the zombie toss. Literally, you just aim move that in and it kills the Protoss. But we've also seen a lot of just Lingbane Hydra just destroy a third base, kill an entire Protoss army, and just remix and kill them. So I think that's a really big problem with that matchup. It's just it just there's no middle ground. Like Zerg versus Terran is like constant skirmishes, little
Yeah.
pressures here and
Drive,
there,
yeah,
and
drive, Hellion drive-bys with Lings and everything else. Yeah, exactly.
yeah. And same with like ZVZ and TVT. A lot of them are just kind of back and forth, and that's why they're really fun to watch. And like I have always said, and I still believe this, that ZVZ is one of my favorite mirrors, and I think it's a great matchup right now because it's less about builds and more about decision making and adaptation because anything could happen. It's like,
Yeah.
well, you might be going for a roach timing, but if you see 20 lings out of your opponent and banelings, that build is out the window and you have to completely come up with something on the spot, which is why Mio Micah's like ZVZ is just so on point because he's like a genius. He's like, oh, you wait for mass lings? I'm going to go drop Lord Queen response. Like,
Right.
he's got it all, right? But I think PvP is, like that suffers from that one-sided matchup as well. So like Protoss versus Zerg, Protoss versus Protoss, sometimes Protoss versus Terran as well. It seems to be one way or the other. This
Yeah.
like Protoss does harass, but it's one-sided harass, right?
Yeah.
It's just I'm going to come in with the Oracle and
Either that too, or otherwise, even if you get like a decent sized army, like right then it just turns into that big defender's advantage with all the shield batteries, and then
yeah,
it's like, okay, well, you're either gonna win the fight and like kill them and like go into the third and kill it and move to the natural, or pull back, or you're literally gonna lose here because you're gonna lose half your army, and they're gonna go across and then finish you, right? So
yeah.
like I feel like that's so often like that'll happen, you know. So and even like when you're talking about like the charge archon stuff, like we're even seeing that at like the highest level too, right? Like we saw that like happen just today, like in GSL with Stats versus Sue. I won't spoil the score, but he did it like 2 or 3 times, and then obviously like reinforced. It wasn't an all in, but puts the pressure on, gets a decent immortal count, and then storms. But it's like like that composition obviously is being played, from I would say like diamond all the way up through obviously to the top tier Koreans.
Well, it does a lot of unseen damage to the Zerg because even if the Zerg scouts it, and this is what I've seen quite a lot, they'll drop down the Roach Warren and they'll make a whole bunch of roaches, but then the Protoss decides how much they want to commit to that because they
Right.
don't actually need to. If they see a whole bunch of roaches out, they're like, fine, I'll just drop double robo and attack later with my third base, and you're going to be really far behind in drones.
Yeah, exactly.
And if the Zerg doesn't react, then like, sweet, I'll just kill you with charge lot, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Or they'll just drop multiple charge lots on different bases, grab the second prism and drop the main and the third or the
yeah,
fourth, and then it's just like you're splitting up the Zerg, the roaches can't get
yeah,
there fast enough. He doesn't have enough
yeah.
hydras to actually snipe off the warp prism, and then
The, the the double warp prism, it's so powerful because the Protoss can decide the moment they can they sense weakness in one place of the Zerg. Like if the Zerg defends the third, they warp in the main.
right.
If they send too many units to go into the main, they warp in at the third. So they can, if they have good information, which they open Oracle and Phoenix, and they have observers, and of course they're attacking, so they have that vision as well. Then a good Protoss player should be able to pinpoint how to kill a Zerg.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's part of how Protoss plays, and I think that's it. I've always complained about how like Zerg has really bad scouting and the units are incredibly inefficient, but that's all part of the Civ, right?
Yeah.
Zerg is all about your units are expendable, and I feel like Protoss is like the same way. Like I saw someone compare like Zerg is like warrior, like you want to get in close and you want to keep punching your opponent, right? And like Protoss is like a wizard, right? It's like you're slow, but you're going to cast spells and you can teleport a little bit. And Terran is like your archer in a way, like you're ranged and you're just trying to like poke your opponent to death. And I think that's like it's kind of hard because like how do you really balance that? Because each of the races have their own strengths, but Protoss, part of them being a wizard is having that ability to have good information, and just slowly pick their opponent apart with, say, Double Warp Prism or Storm. Or,
Yeah, exactly. It's a fine line, right? To be able to play them, and obviously, like as we all know, like balance is not an easy thing. It's pretty hard to actually get the game to be, fairly balanced.
yeah. Well, okay. If we're gonna bring up balance a little bit, I do have a couple of things that I would like to talk about
Yeah.
on that, like a bit of like a what if scenario. Now, I do want to kind of preface this with like, in my personal opinion, I think Blizzard does a fantastic job. And I do not think I could do a better job than Blizzard can. I actually think they've, like, the reason we all love StarCraft is because they've done such a good job. There will always be people who are like, that strategy's OP. But, I mean, I may talk about it a little bit because I think there's one strategy in particular right now that's a kind of a big problem, which why I was more surprised with the current patch, not because they nerfed Zerg, but because they didn't nerf the Raven. And I've seen some recent series where I'm looking at it as a caster. I have complete map vision, and I say, I do not know what you do against this. I think there is no way to beat this. So it was a recent series between Demi versus Setha. Well, this has happened multiple times. They faced each other multiple times, and this has happened, and there has been no response. So what Setha does is he will obviously open up with some kind of harass, Terran versus Zerg, there's a lot of ways to open.
Sure.
Whether it's like Hellion drop with Banshee, or Hellions into Cyclones, or there's Hellions into a third base, right? There's a lot of different ways. But once Setha gets up to like his third or fourth base, he'll immediately drop 3 command centers. He's got siege tanks to kind of defend, and he gets like 5 Banshees, and the Banshees can harass the Zerg, and it denies counterattacks. So I'm looking at this and I'm like, okay, I don't see how you attack this. I'm like, we saw Dark try to go like mass swarm host, but again, the 5 Banshees can just completely come in and shut that down. The swarm hosts are horrible at defending, so Mara was able to counterattack him. So I'm kind of like, okay, so Zerg can't really attack, especially on Eastwatch,
right,
because there are so many choke points. The bases are really close. It's a big map, and the Zerg army is usually quite slow. So that's why you see like the fast Banshees and a lot of Hellions come out of the Terran, because you can do a lot of damage to the Zerg. You can constantly harass them, but the Zerg can't deal damage back because you see planetary fortresses and siege tanks and Banshees, really good defensive units. So if a Zerg did commit to an attack, it's going to be very difficult for them. But then if you get to that, like every time Setha can get to that 4th base with 3 command centers behind it, and he can go mass Raven, so he can't be killed, and he can now go for mass Raven. And I like the biggest problem I want to point out is that every Zerg by this point, whether it's Cyril versus Maro, whether it's Dark versus Maro, whether it's Demi versus Setha, all of these Zerg players have all of the tech tree.
Yeah.
All of the income they will need, all the production they will need, all the upgrades they will need. And I cannot tell you what they build or what kind of timing they could hit that would punish a Terran player in this scenario. And then once Terran gets to that point where they have missile turrets everywhere, they have a big ball of Ravens with Vikings, they have a few tanks on the ground, maybe a few Thors, they start adding ghosts, like Seth, for example, he dropped like 14 barracks after he had this set up and just started massing out ghosts. And you can't attack that. Like, Broodlords try to come in, and you just seeker missile mine them all to death. Ravens are faster than Corruptors, so they can just run out, and they just killed a bunch of your army for free. And, if you do try to commit, Ghosts can snipe things. You still have the siege things on the ground to zone out your Hydras. So it's like, okay, I can't attack that. So what if I did a run-by? We saw Demi seeing, little groups of Hydras around the map to try and pressure bases, but remember, they're planetary fortresses. Right. And Ravens are faster than Hydras. And they're flying, so they ignore terrain. And we saw Setha use 4 Seeker missile mines to wipe out an entire pack of Hydras.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, so you don't really counterattack the Terran, but the Terran can counterattack you. Don't forget, they got Hellions and an excess of minerals, so they can make 6 to 8 Hellions, go across the map, blue flame. If you have no units there, remember, the Zerg's army's slow. They've got Hydras, Broodlords, Infestors, Corruptors, sometimes Vipers, right? And none of this can get to the other side of the maps on Eastwatch to actually defend any of these bases.
Yeah.
And if there are no defenses there, Hellions will kill all the drones because they can't run. They can't borrow because you can just scan. And if there's still not any reaction to this, they can morph into Hellbats and kill a base.
Yeah.
So Tyrion can harass the Zerg continuously. They can't be attacked, and they can poke the Zerg to death. And I think that's a big problem when Ravens can just wipe out entire armies for free.
Right.
And so in the patch notes, they wanted to take the damage from 30 to 5 because the whole idea is that Raven is a support unit. You're not supposed to make 19 of them. Mm-hmm. Like you don't see Protoss make 19 High Templar. Maybe you see like 5 or 10 sometimes. You don't see Zerg make 19 Infestors because, again, like these units, they're supposed to help your army. They're not supposed to like be an army that can constantly trade out. So, I mean, it is a bit of a balance wine, but it's more of a. I just want to know what does the Zerg do. You know, that's. I just like if someone like I've talked to a Tyrion about it before, and he's just like, well, the Zerg's just supposed to split his units. I'm like, well, he did split his units, but
yeah, I think the only thing you can even try to do in that would be to go to get a lot of Vipers, because we saw one Zerg break it, and he built his own, right? He built a bunch of spores, right? And then he built a bunch of Vipers, and then went for the what is the spell that cancels out from them using abilities?
EMP? Or?
No, the Vipers.
Oh, right, on the Raven, the disable ability, yeah.
Yep, they use that, and then bind that also with the other one. I can't remember. I'm blanking on everything today.
The Shredder Missile Mine?
No, again from the Viper, the Viper's other spell that deals
the
parasitic bomb. So they'll chain both, right? So they'll get the stop on the attack, and then they'll cast parasitic bomb, so they're dealing that damage, and then they'll just dive all of their corruptors in, right? So basically the only thing they can do is split the map, and then keep chipping at that Terran army, because the Zerg has the advantage for the Remax fast, right? So that's really all you can do is try to kill everything. And then kill as much as you can, and then remax, and then do it again, and then remax, and repeat until you can break them. Really.
Yeah. And their Zerg army is very expensive, right? The Ravens can get just so much value. I mean, we saw the next game in that series was in Catalyst, and this again went for a 30-minute game. And Demi did split the map with spores. Mm-hmm. And again, like I'm not trying to say. Like, Demi is the best Zerg player, and he can't break this. This is impossible. But I'm just I'm pointing out, like, I can't really tell you what you're supposed to do. Like, that's a good solution that you point out. Like, you can use the Vipers and the Corruptors.
Well, that's the only thing that I've seen break that. Like, right when it gets to that, like that's the only thing I've seen. That's the only thing I've seen win versus exactly what you're talking about. But at the same time, too, I feel like Terran does that right because their late game unit options aren't that great, right? Like unless you do this, then it's like, okay, well, what else do I do? Because Mass Thor just isn't going to work, right? Like it's too highly immobile. Like I don't have any support like for that, right? And like you can go Ghost, but even then you're only going to get so much, viability, because Broodlords, if you keep them back far enough away, you know, like Ghosts aren't going to do shit against Broodlords. Same with Thors, if the Broodlords are back far enough.
Yep. No, I 100% agree with you. So here was my what if like balance proposal, right?
Sure, yeah.
It's just hypothetical, right? If you are going to nerf the Raven, which again I really think that spell should be used for the army debuff, not to just like carpet bomb the Zerg over and over and over. Or Protoss or Tyrion. It's actually a problem in all matchups, I want to point out. The problem is I think Tyrion does need a late game AoE. Mm-hmm. Like Protoss have Storm, Zerg have Fungal Growth, and I think like Tyrion also needs some kind of answer. So my proposal would be like, well, buff the Battlecruiser, man. Make the Battlecruiser a viable unit. I think they need to remove the teleport because it's become a gimmick. It's a harassment unit. Why are you making a Battlecruiser to harass a player? What I reckon they should do is like in the campaign when you had the Hyperion mission, you had a short range teleport. I reckon the Battlecruiser should have a short range teleport, increase its range, increase its attack, or increase its speed. Like two of those three.
Sure.
Make it so it can actually fight straight up.
Yeah.
So if a Zerg tries to come in with Broodlords, you can just do a short range teleport on them, make it faster, and they can
Yamato,
start
yeah.
to like yeah. And also the last thing is to buff the Yamato, make it do more AOE, make that the late game AOE because at least it's on an expensive unit that's slower. And my biggest problem with the Raven is it outruns Corruptors, it outruns Vipers, it outruns Infestors, and it outruns Hydras.
Right.
So if they could come in, bomb you, and then retreat. Or if it's a bad fight, they don't have to fight, right? And I think like the battle cruiser, if it has a short range teleport, so it can still be caught, it's still slow. And I think that creates decision making for both players.
Right.
I mean, like the thing in the past, right? And the reason why the Seeker missile mine it was a problem, but why it isn't as much of a problem as it is now, is the Seeker missile mine did more damage, but and had more range, but you could disengage. So
Right.
if the Ravens try to come in and carpet bomb your army, you could just be like, no, I'm backing off.
Right.
And you just wasted a whole bunch of energy.
and then it highlighted, which unit you could micro it away, and
Yeah.
there was you could outrun it eventually, right? Like if you were on creep
Yeah.
or if you had a fast enough unit, like you could like eventually like get away from it. Now with these new ones are so fast, like there's no getting away from it. Like you're gonna like I don't know. Have you seen that they call it the Dorito missile?
Oh, yeah.
Because it covers you, it turns them bright orange like it's covered in Dorito dust. So you just get get covered in this Dorito dust, and it gets in the vents of the of everything, and it shuts it down. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's that's perfect. But I mean, I think like I see what Blizzard was envisioning, right? You have like one or two Ravens in your army, and you make it so your Marine Cyclone Ball can do a lot of damage to your opponent. It's like you can turn around the battle with this cool spell, but it's a problem when your opponent makes 19 of them and they're fast, so you can't dodge them.
yeah,
Well, like Corruptors are too slow. Like Broodlords are too slow to micro reset. Even Hydras are too slow to actually dodge it, even if you had God micro. So yeah, that's a bit of a tough one. So I advocate buff the battle cruiser, make it a viable unit
Buff
for
the
the late
battlecruiser.
game.
I think it would be interesting, right, to see what I mean, Athanius would be a big fan, right? Obviously, of a buff
Damn
battle
it,
cruiser.
Morty! You can't lose the battle cruiser, Morty. Ah, jeez, Rick, I just want to harass the Zerg.
Exactly. So no, I think that it'd be interesting. There are just certain units that kind of feel underutilized in the meta, and obviously like that's the opposite of what Blizzard wants. Obviously, they want all these units to be utilized. So yeah, I agree. I think there could be more useful things for the maybe even give it some different abilities, right? Like we saw the introduction of like the Tempest, right, for like this long range damage. Like maybe even the battle cruiser has like can target 2 units at a time, right? Like you maybe weaken the main attack, but then it can multi-target, right? It's got like because it's got like 2 guns, right? So why couldn't it shoot 2 targets?
I see.
Weaken the overall attack, but allow it to attack like 2 different targets at the same time, or something like that. Like make it a little more useful. I mean, maybe it would be too OP for pro
Well, they
progression at
don't
that
even
point,
need to
but-
like add a new attack to it. They could literally just give the Yamato 2 cooldown abilities and give it way more range. Like,
Sure.
and already like that's kind of serving that. Speaking of units that are kind of underutilized, I have another what if you want to
Yeah.
dig into this one. I was a few years ago. I had an idea for the Swarm Host because I think the Swarm Host again. The meme is it's a dead unit for the Zerg. So my proposition here is: what if the Swarm Host instead of sending out Locusts, send it out Scourge, like slowest Scourge, like Skybaneling basically.
Yeah.
And I think like the reason for this is like Zerg have always had a really big problem with anti-air. Like, I mean, how many times have you just seen a Protoss fleet literally just melt through everything of
Right.
the Zerg, unless it's anyone but Stefano, right?
Well, the one time we saw where they actually wasn't was when we had the strong, Infestitarians, right, from the Infestors, right? But then they were too OP.
Yeah.
Right, so
yeah.
they had to nerf that, right? And now they're almost too slow. They don't have very good range, so it's back to them being like underutilized. So if
Yeah.
anything, I think they should just kind of find a balance with those, right? Like make them hatch, but then don't make them as effective as they were. or something. But
Yeah.
continue with your idea. So Swarm Host Scourge. I like where you're going with this.
So yeah, like they send out Scourge because it makes interesting micro decisions because if they're slower, so take like Liberators for example in Terran versus Zerg. Once a lot of Liberators come out, they can start to pick off a lot of the Zerg army. If you want to stay ground army for Zerg and Hydras become really bad against Liberators, so what if like the Swarm Host could come out, send out a wave of Scourge. So if the Terran isn't looking, they'll lose all the Liberators, right? But if they are looking, they have time to unsiege their Liberators and pull back, and the cooldown for the Swarm Host is so long that they could go in for a counterattack, right? So you have a bit of counterplay there.
Sure.
Like I would want it to be.
Would it be an upgrade? So would it do both Locust or the Scourge? And
That would be cool.
And it would be like an upgrade, and you could like. I guess it would be like I'm thinking of like the Ravager, right? Like it has like the C ability, so it would automatically spawn like Locust, but then if you hit like C, then it switches the mode, and then it goes into Scourge maybe.
Yeah, or like it morphs into like a new Swarm Host that now sends out Locust.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
something like that. That would be cool, I guess. Like another like unit that transforms.
yeah. I guess like the concern would be what if you just made the perfect unit, right? It's like, wow, this counters air and ground and has 3 units. But the problem is with Swarm Host that we've always seen, since the Legacy of the Void change, is that they just don't defend at all. They're hopeless.
Yeah, I mean, you could also just bring Scourge back. Like bring them into the game in general in some fashion. Like.
Yeah.
Even if it's a hive unit, even if that's the only way you can get them, I still think they would be worth it then, right? Because the only time it would really be worth it is like pretty late game. Like there's really no like early game advantages to getting Scourge.
Yeah, I just that's like I would want it so like there was a case where if a Zerg had really good economy, they can kill those really rough armies. And maybe you're right there, Toast. Maybe if you add the Scourge back in, that would be a counter to Raven.
Sure.
Yeah.
Or
because it's really fast, come in there and pick them up.
Yeah, definitely. That could be something. Otherwise, I was thinking, yeah, man, then you could just even bring back the, not the Warhound. What was the other one? Why can't I think?
Oh, the Hook.
No, what was the unit? It had the strong anti-air, but then it could also deal ground damage. Why can't I think of anything today? I'm like, I know I can see it in my head. It looked like a mini Thor.
Okay.
I know. No, you know what?
Goliath.
Yeah, the Goliath. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's bring back the Goliath, man. Like that thing was awesome. Like let's bring that back.
Well, I like they've said in the past that they don't want to bring it back because like the Thor kind of covers that role. But like honestly, they could just make the Thor
is supposed to be a late
smaller.
game. Yeah, well, the Thor is supposed to be a late game unit though.
Yeah.
I like the old thing. Did you know that back in the day, I think it was in the Wings of Liberty beta, the Thor was actually supposed to be like a mega unit, and you weren't able to produce it out of a building. You had to have an SCV like manufacture it, and it took like something like 3 minutes to make it or something ridiculous like that.
Yeah, I do remember that. You could I mean, you can't always repair it, but it's just like it would just come in and just like carpet bomb everything.
Yeah. So like,
oh man.
So like, if anything, like it would be cool, like I don't know, have the Goliaths in there, because like also Thors are so expensive, right? Like like just to get to that level, like right, how many times is a Terran, they're doing like a siege tank, Hellbat push, and then all of a sudden like 30 mutas, and it's like, well, I had no anti-air, so I just lose.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's so true.
So, but if you could have the option to throw in a couple of, Goliaths, I think that would be cool. Give them, I don't know. That's just like it's one of my favorite units. That's the only reason why I'm advocating it for so much. It's just a cool unit.
Yeah. They should just make the Cyclone be able to transform into like a Goliath with anti-air.
Yes, more transforming units. That's what we really need. There's not enough things that can use like smart servos. We need like, SCVs need a battle mode, right? Like they get a shitty rifle.
I think I was I brought up on one of the casts the other day. It's like what if a Marine could mine minerals and then that's it? Like You just Deering doesn't make any other unit.
Yeah,
They like start with SCVs. They immediately make 5 barracks. They're just like, that's it. I'm done.
yeah. I'll just make Marines.
Oh man. I got one more what if scenario.
All right.
If you we got time for one last one.
Yep.
It's a short one. All right. What if the Nidus Worm could only be done on creep?
Ooh. I think we'd see it in ZVZ a lot more.
Oh yeah, 100%. But like, what I'm like, there's a couple of reasons why you'd where I could think a change like this would be kind of cool because lately in the late game Protoss versus Zerg, when the Protoss has a mothership out, they could teleport their entire army to a Nexus, and then teleport their entire army back again to the mothership, and they can just go from left to right instantly.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, well, Zerg has the Nidus, but it's so expensive and it's so slow and it's so clunky. But why couldn't it be like more like the Nidus Canal, where you could also use it to reposition your army? Actually, now I think of it, that's very broken.
Yeah, because Nidus Worm doesn't have like a cooldown like or it does, but like no, actually, yeah, it does have a cooldown. But you can also build multiple Nidus networks,
True.
I don't know how the hell that works. Because if you have multiple Nidus networks, like I don't know. Like
Yeah.
I would have to play with that because I have no idea how that actually works. But what I would say though is here's the thing: like you would just have like the Overlord like poop creep,
Yeah.
right? So it'd have to do that, but then you'd have to have some sort of a like a like this. It would have to be able to spawn faster.
Yeah. Of course, and be cheaper. I think
Yeah,
would also be a thing.
that way that it could actually do it because it would actually be able to pop up relatively quick because or you'd have to increase like the speed at which like the creep grows around like the Overlord when it poops.
Yeah.
Like so that you could make the Nidus. But that would be interesting. I mean, because you already have like it really wouldn't be that big of a change because like you already have like the Overlord there for for spotting, right? So it's like all right, well, realistically, like you could just like okay, poop, 3 seconds, and that's enough. Then
Yeah.
and then it makes the noise, and then it goes off.
Yeah. I think like as well like a lot of the time we see overseers kind of come in like they're very fast as well and they just drop a changeling and they can put the Nidus in wherever they want.
Speaking of overseers, I think not enough people take advantage of contamination.
Well, in the past it was broken. It was like 75 energy I think.
It's
You could
still
just morph in a whole bunch and just stop all the production.
it's still
But
70. It's still 75. Yeah,
Was it?
it's still. I think it's still 75 energy, but I think an overseer only has 100. So you can only use it. You can only use it once. Like like if it's got like a full thing. But even then, like even if you're like if I'm a Zerg and I'm like really trying to like keep like the Terran or even the Protoss down on their upgrades, I feel like overseer run bys aren't like a big enough thing, right? Like if they're going into carriers, you're like all right, contaminate. Then you just like loop back and like put 2 more up there, and then like wears off, contaminated again. Like they can't
Yeah.
kill it. Like
True,
even if you're like diving in there, like I feel like that's worth it, right?
Yeah.
To pause that, like them building up the carriers.
Didn't Dark try to do that against Classic? Oh no, well, no, I think it was Maru. Yeah, he tried to do it against Maru. He made like 8 overseers at the start, as the moment he got Lair, and it nearly worked, but Maru got anti-F for it.
Yeah, I mean,
But
like to a point, yeah, and then it won't work anymore. But like if you're like on top of it and stuff, like I feel like it can. I feel like you could utilize it just as much like as any other harassment unit, right? Because how many times would we see like where they'll just drop like 30 changelings, and it's like,
yeah,
but that like what purpose did that? You just did that so they couldn't be feedbacked.
sure, sure.
It's like you really didn't even use it. So
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
okay, well, what if we did this instead? Like dive everything in there and then contaminate on their starport or for the upgrades or whatever. I just feel like that's a better utilization of all that energy.
Or what if the contaminate instead of having a timer, it actually like when it goes onto the building and actually has health, and you actually have to destroy the contaminate to actually make your building workable again. It'll be like insignificant health, but it's still just like that extra APM is just like, oh, I actually have to have a unit there to
Like
stop it from being contaminated.
yeah, it's like attack it to like get it off of it. That'd be interesting too. Like I feel like that would be like more Zerg-esque.
Yeah,
Right.
it would be like
Right.
it's infestation.
Like we've got to clean it off.
Yeah. And then if you do it on a command center, you can make infested marines. That seems
Yeah.
balanced.
Yeah, exactly. If you don't, then the Zerg player gets control of the building. What if
Mm.
what if it was like that? What if it was like neuroparasite? So you got it for like, I don't know.
Oh, you could neuroparasite a building.
Well, not
Blizzard.
kind of, but I'm thinking more like this because it wouldn't last long enough for you to be able to like take control of like a unit or build your own unit. But what if you could just cancel the unit they were building or like cancel their queue? So like they were queued up to build like a
Oh.
bunch of shit, and then you just canceled all of it really quick. And so they had to like go in and like requeue it like after had done that.
The only way I see that being balanced is if the contaminate wasn't instant, if it had a cast time.
Sure.
Because then you could literally come in and just be like, cancel your upgrades. All right, I'm just gonna keep doing this.
Well, that's
But
I mean that yeah, I think that would be that'd be why it would be hilarious.
all right, Blizzard need to hire us, man. We've got the future.
So it would be an awful game.
Yeah, that I mean that's why like we preface that like Blizzard has actually done a really good job. Like
Yeah.
this is just a bit of fun, like just like poking with what they've already got.
No, that would be. I think that would be cool. I mean, it would be interesting to see what people could come up with, as far as like different, having actual, different abilities and stuff, for these units. Like I think we had Probe on the show once, and Probe had a good point about like the Oracle, and he had an interesting idea on how to like rework that. And he said like get rid of like the pulsar beam, but then also have it have more like defensive uses. So like he had said like you could like the cast range for like stasis wards would be longer. So that way if you were in the middle of a fight, you'd actually be able to cast a stasis ward from like the side, like a flank. And
Yep.
like and then like freeze half that Zerg army. Now it'd be the same where like it doesn't hurt them and you can't attack them, but still it gives you that advantage to take care of the rest of that army.
I think that's actually really cool. And like if you made it so it had a faster cast time and more range, but less like a much shorter time that your opponent was mobilized.
Yeah.
Because you would really come in and you would try to like trap them in, and then they're still they could still respond to it, right? Because they could try to focus down the oracles, they could try to focus down the wards. So I like anything where it creates back and forth, right?
Yeah.
Where both players can have a response to it.
Or I had an idea too where the Oracle would also work similar to like a Sentry for like the Guardian Shield, where if you activated it, it gave your army a brief shield repair, right? Like a certain like a certain shield percentage repair, like for like AOE. But then obviously it drained the energy like super fast.
Yeah. Like only like one of them. I guess that might have a problem for players who go mass Oracle.
But here's the thing:
mass Oracle never dies.
Well, but you would just have it so it couldn't stack, right?
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And then I would look at it like this: like it would take full energy Oracle for all units inside of that. It would take it the full energy to repair their shields all the way. So if they went from 0 shields and they wanted 100 back, it would have to cast all that energy, and there'd have to be like a certain waiting time. Like whatever it is, like a couple seconds for that to fully recharge. So, and again, I thought of this, idea like before the shield battery, but I was kind of thinking like, yeah, it'd be kind of like a mobile shield battery.
Yeah. I think that's actually really cool. Like especially when we saw Protoss players combo adepts with oracles a lot.
Yeah.
So like, what if like they go in for the skirmish and they like how like adepts like run in and they shade backwards so they can retreat at any time. And then like if they do a bit of damage, they retreat outwards, and the oracle's like, I'm gonna mend you up and send you in again. Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. It'd just be like, I don't know, just a different idea, obviously. So,
or what if the warp prism had it? What if the warp prism had energy and like the area that it has that you can warp in? Like, what if that was like the area that it regenerates? And in PvP, that now means you can feedback it. So I think that creates a little bit of interesting, like...
Yeah, that was another thing that I had brought up too, that I was kind of like, yeah, or I had brought up too that it gets bonus shields while it's in that area.
Well, yeah.
So it would be risky to have it so forward, right? Because it could be easily sniped, but it may be worth it because it's giving you bonus shields while it's open. So...
Sure. Like...
But like...
I'm a buffet.
But it's not like we need the warp prism to be more powerful.
No, we really don't.
Why doesn't it give off a toxic gas that kills everything that comes near it? Perfect. You know, let's
Was
give.
it the cardboard episode with like the warp prism and the two archons? It's like Dragon Ball Z is like
Yeah.
like all the archons just teleporting around the place. I'm just like, oh my god, it's so true.
I mean, yeah, that's exactly what it feels like actually. So, but no, it's there's obviously different ideas that they could still be played around with, and there's other stuff that they could definitely do. So, and obviously the game's ever expanding, so there's no reason to say that some of these things, I mean, doubtful, but it doesn't mean that some of these things, can't change in the future. I mean, like, look at that Raven rework. I mean, I never even thought that would have been something that they would have done, right, from the old Raven even to the new Raven at all, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, that was a complete rework, So it's interesting to see what they can come up with. I mean, obviously, like they've got all these units, and like even like the Stalker, it was weird to kind of see the Stalker get a buff because the Stalker's been like unchanged since like Wings of Liberty. It's like it's just been the same unit. Like even the Dark Templar for some reason got blank. Like we changed,
Oh, and the community was like, "What?" So then they got it, and no one ever used it.
No one, yeah,
okay.
no one's still ever used it. It's just like there's been like very few times that actually anyone's actually ever done anything with that. So it's like it'd be interesting, or like even like what if they brought back Dark Archons, right? Like High Templars make Blue Archons, DTs make Dark Archons, right? So then you get then you bring those back. So then you have the mind control ability and stuff, and I think it was like Dominate or something. I can't remember.
Yeah. No, I was thinking about the other day because during a cast, I was just kind of like, what if it did? But I think the biggest problem would be like once you go for a Dark Templar harass. Like I'm always talking about Zerg, by the way. I'm a Zerg player, so I think Zerg first, right? So like once you go for the DT harass, and maybe you do some damage, and the Zerg tries to counterattack you, and you only got Dark Templar tech, and you can only make Dark Archons, and they can't attack, you're kind of screwed.
Well, no, I would give them an auto attack. I would give them an attack. I wouldn't be as strong as like I mean just like the High Templar, right? Like we finally gave the High Templar an auto attack, right? It would work basically the same way. Like you'd give the Dark Archon like an attack, it just wouldn't be as strong as like the regular Archon.
What if it had like an attack that was like a constant beam, and it just like slowed whatever it was hitting?
Sure, like something like that would even be cool, right? Like make it a more utility unit.
Yeah.
Or sure, like even if you want to do this, what if the only way to get a Dark Archon is if you have a DT and an HT combined?
Right.
So
And we have to give it a different hotkey too, so people don't accidentally may have Dark Archons in their army.
Yeah. So two HTs, regular Archon, two DTs, regular Archon, one High Templar, one Dark Templar, Dark Archon.
I mean, they have the model there, and like.
I mean, that's almost like another late game tech unit, right?
Yeah.
Because it would take. I mean, that's a lot of gas, right? To get both High Templar and Dark Templar, like that's like a load. That's like a load of everything. So like it would only be you. I'm not like how long would you like if you tried to rush to Dark Archon? It would be like a 7-minute that's like I'm trying to think like that would be like the earliest you could possibly get it would be like hey, 7.5 minutes.
I've seen a Gold League game where a Zerg player did one base ultra. Come on, man. Someone will try it. Someone out there will be like, nah, man. Rush Dark Archon. I'm gonna mind control your SUV. I'm gonna build a battle cruiser army.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. It's just interesting ideas. There's always stuff that we could talk about to be done, but it's interesting. What we can come up with when we just apply like the what if mentality, right? Like what if this, what if that?
Yeah. And using like the base that StarCraft already has, because it's actually a fantastic base. Like they've set themselves like a really good groundwork to do whatever they want, really. And I know like that when they were talking about actually designing the game, they set themselves the limitation to only have 15 units for each race. So like they probably did consider this. But then they were like, is it just like a bit too much going on? Like, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, but that's what we talk about. Like, there's like the those units that we just don't use, right? Like they get thrown by the wayside, right? So it's like we'll just recycle that unit then, like, right? If something's not being utilized, then like I think why not? It could be almost like the rotating idea. Like once one unit goes out, that's when you pull that unit, throw in something cool for players to use, and then you take the time to rework it. All right, now how do we rework this unit? How can we make this unit better?
Yeah, and it makes the game so fresh, right? Because it's
Yeah.
just like, oh, now I can try a new strategy. There's something cool going on. What if they made the blink on the Dark Templar require the Templar archives, but half the time? Because then, if you want to rush Dark Templar blink, you at least have to invest now into a tech that doesn't help your strategy, and you have to wait for that tech to finish before you can even start the upgrade.
Right.
But that also means late game you could research the blink quite easily.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of like I said, different interesting options that they could take a look at. One unit I feel like that's starting to become underutilized, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think the Marauder. Because we're seeing a lot of mech play, right? So
Yeah.
I mean, we still see Marines get built, obviously, right? And in certain cases, the Marauder, it'll make an appearance, right? But not like it used to, right? Like, I mean, the Marauder used to literally be like a keystone unit for like the Terran army, right?
Yeah.
Where at this point it's kind of like I can't really like you can use it, but like even like because it used to be so good, like even in like TVP, right? But even right now, it feels like it's not good enough.
Yeah, it seems like more of a response unit, right? So, for example, like if you see a lot of Colossus, then you start adding more Marauders. I mean, we even saw like Beyond, for example, when Stalker openings became like really prevalent in TVP. We saw him opening with like a Marauder rush that was really effective. You just kind of get like 3 Marauders with concussive shell, and you can start to like snipe off Stalkers and potentially do damage. So, but yeah, I see what you mean. Like it seems more of like I'm going to make Marauders as a response rather than as a core part of my composition.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So it just seems like it's like being underutilized. Kind of like the Zealot was pretty much not utilized at all before, right? Unless you were going for charge lots. But even then, you didn't build it until like charge tech was already done. Yeah. And that's still the case now. The only reason why we're building Zealots is because charge is so cheap.
Yeah. I feel like a Zerg now, if they see like 3 Zealots in the world, they're like, this is a charge load all in. Like,
oh, yeah.
Why else?
No, because normally you'd be making the Adept, because the Adept is the better version of a Zealot,
Adept killed the Zealot, confirmed.
Yeah. No, yeah, literally. Like, there's no reason, like I have, like, friends that, like, start playing, and they're like, when do I build my first Zealot? And I'm like, you don't. Like, what do you mean? I'm like, you build an Adept. Like, what's an Adept? It's a new Zealot, man. Like, yeah, they're like, wait, what? I don't need sentries and Zealots? No, you just need one, not Blinky Boy. What the hell?
Adepts can't kill buildings.
Not if you kill all your opponent's economy.
Yeah, exactly. You don't need to kill the buildings then. So just you build one shady boy to hold the base down, and then you're good to go.
Bro, I used to hate when Archon drop was so prevalent in ZVP, because it's like, all right, now I have to build all these spore cores. Now I need roaches to defend against the Archons. All right, let's go for a counterattack. And the Dark Templar just kills everything. You're just like, oh.
That, or you're going for the counterattack, and all of a sudden you see like 50 shades go by. You're like, oh god, now back to the base.
Yeah, man. I do know some degenerate players out there would go like Phoenix Dark Templar just to pick off your Overseer. It's just like, this is so aggravating.
Yeah. But like I said, there's always those good ideas, right? There's just always something, that could be around the corner. So I'm excited, for what Blizzard can come up with. Because like I said, there's never a dull moment, right, with them and with everything that we're going through. I mean, people want to say, well, they don't say it anymore, but, obviously we had the dead game meme for a while. Like,
I've not seen it in a long time.
Exactly.
Man.
It's because we just have so much going on. Like, the game is so good right now. There's just, like, you can't even meme on it. Everyone's just like,
no.
Hey, oh. And there's, like, actually, there's just so much going on. Like, it's just totally not even true.
They're like, did get, and you just, like, slide in WSG, and they're just like,
Never mind.
Yeah. Well, actually, I think, like, if you compare, like, StarCraft to, like, human evolution, you have, like, Brood War, which is, like, the Dark Ages, and it was, like, humanity, like the first evolution of humans, and we're like, oh, we can be smart, guys. And then from there, We went to like early like Greek like classical area, and there's like StarCraft 2 when it first came out and was like super popular.
But people
And
didn't
then we
take
had the Dark Age.
expansions.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And we had the Dark Ages where we just burned all the libraries and started again, and all the tournaments went black. I feel like we're going through the Renaissance period right now. Like where like StarCraft 2 is like it's like coming back. We're like, oh, this is a refined game with a nice touch, and it's all about impressionist.
Yeah, it's very skillful. Only the top minds can play this game. So well, and two, look at and for further, to make a further case for that too, look at all the orgs that are either popping up, right? We talked about that a little bit earlier, that are popping up, right? And also just individual esports teams are now interested in at least getting a StarCraft player, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're just like, well, we're not interested, even not interested in maybe having a team, but we are interested in having like at least one player represent us. You have like Cyril, Hearthstone, Showtime, a lot of these players, they're, they only have the one player on their team, but they're so good, right? So they recognize that, StarCraft is amazing, and they want to have someone representing them, in that.
Yeah, well, like StarCraft 2 has like one of the highest earnings per player because it's all 1v1 based.
Yeah. Well, that and I think too the thing that has a lot to do with this, like our player base and like our fan base, right? Just to show, like it shows how loyal we are, right? Like our numbers like really don't fluctuate very much anymore, but but that they're going to be consistent, right? Like you can consistently count on like exactly like, okay, it should be around this, this many people will watch, blah blah blah. Like the one wild card is probably BlizzCon, right? Where it's like, okay, that's like the huge spike, but that's because you have all the Blizzard fans in general who just they watch everything. I'll watch all the stuff on BlizzCon. And I don't even play, like I don't play WoW at all, but I still watch like the arena, like the BlizzCon thing for that. Like I still think it's interesting. Like BlizzCon is like the ultimate time to like check out everyone else's esport.
Well, it's kind of like a thing where like Blizzard just make really cool games, and each of them is so deep that you could only really play one of them like it's like a full-time game, right? You only really play like one of them intensely, but you always have that like, what's going over there? Like, ooh, WoW's like going kind of cool, and like Diablo over there, and like BlizzCon's the chance to like kind of just see like the highest end of each of those games, like.
Yeah, exactly. See the potential and see like what's available.
I will say this though, like, yes, the numbers are very consistent, and like the StarCraft 2 community, like, it will never go away. Just StarCraft community in general, like, it will always be there because everyone always just want their StarCraft. Like, people like come and go, but they'll like, I think at some point everyone just kind of comes back and just wants to see more. But what I will say though is, as I've been trying to like just in my own personal work in the community, as I've been like investing more and more time and effort and energy into these tournaments, I have started to see, the viewer count on the smaller tournaments increase. I think that's where the growth is right now. It's in these online cups and building them up so that, the lower end players and the people just getting into it, like they have like an entry level, and then the tournaments are the big hype, right?
Yeah. No, absolutely. There's so much interest, and like I said, because that's where your player, a lot of your player base is, right? Like a lot of these low-level players are playing in these tournaments because they're developing their skill. Someone like you talked about earlier, like Future, right? Like who developed their skill like over the years playing in like these, community tournaments and stuff, and who's now, on the doorstep of breaking into like WCS. So, and then he's still competing in those, so it gets people interested in that, and more people are playing and stuff. And there's so many different options, even for lower level players, like with Chobo Team League, Junior StarCraft League. Like there's just the list goes on for all these different avenues for players of all levels.
Like the Platy Pro that I do on Sundays is a tournament where only players you can only enter it if you've earned less than 8,000. So that way. You can only have up-and-coming pros in there. You can't have your big names just show up and just clean sweep the tournament. And it makes, I tell you this, like it makes all the games really close because no one in there has ridiculous amounts of experience.
Right, or like that big of an advantage like over anyone else. Otherwise, they would already be collecting those checks.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, like there are tournaments out there, like the Masters Cup is literally like, hey, Koreans, we got $1,000 here. You want in on that? Yeah. And we get sick games from that, and that's always cool. And I think like that to me is like the middle, like the bridging point from like smaller online tournaments to the big tournaments, because all of a sudden these small online players can have a shot against these highest tier players. Like this is like their
Right.
because I mean they may run into them on the ladder, but it's totally different in the tournament scene when you have someone commentating your game, you have 100 viewers watching your every move. Like these top tier players with the experience of offline tournaments, they don't get phased by that. Like it's a whole new game. It's not just knowing the game anymore. It's about playing under pressure. It's about playing under stress.
Right. No, absolutely, 100%. And it's great to see that. It's great to see those players like come up and and I don't know. It's such like I said, the scene is so supportive right now. And especially like helping new players and all the the influence now we're getting with all the new players that are either coming back or getting into it the first time. So I'm excited to see someone come out of that process. Someone who got into it late in life and is right now developing their skills. Like may even not know who they are right now. But they're slowly working it up. Like maybe they just got to masters this season, right? And maybe next season they finally get into GM.
Yep. Yep.
So
Yep.
I'm
And it
looking
takes a long time for each of those leagues, eh? I think like I have a lot of players come to me and they're like, "Oh, I'm just diamond," and I'm like, "Dude, be proud you're diamond. Like you're in the top 70% of players. Like you should be, you should be stoked."
Yeah, you should see how many people are in bronze or silver. It's like be happy with the skills that you have, and if you're not, then improve them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think the other really notable thing is that we're seeing a lot of new young players,
Yeah.
and that's like it's all good and well having players like slowly ascend the ladder, so to speak, and to get into those bigger events and to play really really well, but to have new blood constantly, I think, is the biggest thing.
Yeah. No, exactly. Like I said, that's it's it's what gives us the hope that the scene's not going away, and like you said, the renaissance that we're going through right now. So I couldn't agree more, and I think that's what helps, and it gives us our passion, and makes us want to keep going because we know it's possible.
Mm, mm.
So
Yeah, 100%. And I just, I feel like, I don't. You probably feel the same way, Toast. But in the position that I'm in, I feel like I have a lot of potential to build up the scene, and
yeah,
to put a lot of hype and energy, to not only bring more viewers in, but also to make the players playing feel like what they're doing is like way cooler. Like when there goes from like 50 people checking out the games to 100 people, it's just like all of a sudden they're like, you know what? Next week I want to bring my A game, And then more people are trying to think like that, and so we're getting more people like jumping in on these tournaments. Like, I want a shot. I reckon I could play better than last week, or I bet I could play better than that guy. And we got people like dogpiling in on the tournaments, and you Toast, like you're doing these like talk shows, you're organizing your own team, and with the stuff you're doing with DankShrine, like really growing the underscene, right? And when that kind of gets brought up, everything gets raised.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, with that the whole thing, it's like doing the show and stuff, and it's been great. Been doing this strong now for over a year. It's been almost it'll be 2 years, like in like 3 months or something now.
Nice.
So quite a long time. And then it's just like, okay. And then I started the team, and it's like, okay, it was just time to expand, to do more, right? Like I felt like, okay, like I'm comfortable with what I'm already doing. It's time to like go to that to the next level. And obviously, like I want to support the scene as much as I can. So basically, anything that I make, from the show or from like our merch sales or whatever, like all that goes like right back into our team. So it all gets invested into the scene. And a lot of my players are up and coming players, right? That they're players that, like some of them are well known, like somewhat, like Volts is obviously like somewhat well
Oh
known. I
man,
mean, as like a WCS challenger.
he's been playing so well lately.
Yeah,
Holy
exactly.
moly, I've been blown away by his performance.
And he's just getting better, and so that's super impressive. But then you also have players like Groovy Man, right, who's another young kid who just turned 16. He's Future's age. He's a
Yep.
Terran player who's really working hard to bring his game, to that next level, and he's and he's almost there, like
Yep.
he's
Yep.
he's
Yep.
back into GM. He's working on getting up there a little bit higher and taking these games. But overall he's doing a really good job. So I can't wait to see what some of these players that I'm working with are able to do, and it just makes me happy to work with some of the younger players, and like I said, to help them out and to see what you can help them accomplish.
Yeah.
So, not to toot my own horn, but
Oh no, but this is what the show's for, man. It's all about tooting the horn.
Yeah. Tooting the horn of esports. It needs to be tooted. So.
Oh god.
But no, like I said, it was a thing where it's like you just want to do more, right? Like that's how it is for you, right? Like with casting, it's like you just want to do more. Like it's addictive. Esports is addictive. It's like you like can't get enough.
Yeah.
So
I thought like if I picked up more tournaments, then it would get to a point where it's like I lose a bit of my passion, and like it's like I feel like I'm seeing the game like the same thing over and over. But I actually found the more tournaments I watch, the more intricacies I could see that the players are doing. I can really tell you now the difference between styles, and I know that like me and Shishadai, like after we do tournaments, because he's a really smart guy. I don't know if you've had him on the show, and if you haven't, definitely get him on. He's a great guy. We had a discussion on there are like 3 pillars that make up just competitive play in general. It doesn't matter whether it's esports, it doesn't matter whether it's sports in general, it doesn't matter if it's like a martial arts fight. Like you can either be aggressive, defensive, or greedy. And the greedy is a bit of a fluid term. Sometimes it just like it can also be seen as like time, like but in StarCraft it's easy to see greed as like taking more expansions. And when you start to understand like aggression beats greed, and like greed beats someone who's just being defensive, and someone who's being defensive beats someone who's being aggressive. And when you really understand that, you get like a full spectrum of like, this is what makes up every single player. And you can go from one of these stances to another, right?
Right.
So you can be like open aggressive and then go into a greedy play. And we actually found out like if you end up with this circle, right? So like how does it go? Oh, we did it the other way around because we're special. But like aggression beats greed, and greed beats defense, and defense beats aggression.
It's like rock paper scissors.
Like, yeah, but we also found like in between them, you start to get style. So someone who is going in between aggression and greed is like a tempo player, right? You put pressure onto your opponent, and then you build your economy behind that to keep putting pressure onto your opponent. You're trying to like push them out of the game. Whereas someone who is both defensive and aggressive tends to be very like it's a very balanced composition. Like sure. You take jabs at them slowly until they try to attack you, and then you defend it and crush them, right?
Right.
And someone who is both greedy and defensive tends to be like it's a very like passive play style.
Sure, they try to macro and try to get up to 3 base quickly and whatnot.
Yeah. And then there's like the whole thing about like scouting. Like if you scout your opponent as a particular stance, you can change your stance to get an advantage over them, and that's where things get really interesting.
Sure. Well, and then that's just what what a great game StarCraft is, right? Because then you add in the layer of deception where you let them scout something and then you cancel it. Let them.
Yep.
You control what they see. Don't just because they see it doesn't mean you need to do it. There's that whole attitude, right? So like you let them see that first Phoenix, and like, oh, okay, they're just going Phoenixes, When in actuality you're like massing Void Race, and they're just who the hell goes Void Race?
Yeah. Well, I think the other common one that we see is like Terran players when they get the starport with the tech lab and they like research something silly just to throw off the Zerg. They're like, oh, well, he's definitely going Cloak Banshee when actually it's like a medevac drop. And...
Right, or Hyperflight Router right before Cloak.
Oh, yeah.
So,
that's
So, yeah, there's always the chance for that. But again, that just brings it back to, what a great game, StarCraft 2 is. So, I think that's about all the time we have. We've been going for a solid hour and a half, so I wanted to thank you for coming on, man. I really appreciate your insight. I really had a lot of fun today. We'll definitely have you on again at some point. Maybe we'll get you and Sheer both on, and we'll have another talk on stance.
StarCraft philosophy. It's going to happen, man.
Maybe we'll get
it's been a pleasure.
Nero on to talk about philosophy. He's good on that one. So,
oh yeah.
But yeah, man, thank you again. I want to thank our sponsors again, Scythe Esports. You can check out the link I sent down in the chat. Take a look at some of that merch. All that goes towards supporting the team. So if you feel like helping out the NA scene, all the funds, all the profits through that program get fed directly back into the team, and we'll support the team going down to DreamHack Austin for this year. Same with any donations like on the page or anything, and all the subs. So thank you for the subs today. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you, man. I know you subbed earlier before the show started. Appreciate that. Scott, thank you for the resub. But yeah, did you want to give any shout outs before we get out of here?
Oh, I mean, we had some really cool people. I didn't actually read that much of chat. I feel kind of bad. I was just like so engaged in the conversation. But yeah, no, I'm more of a shout out to you, Toast. I mean, like, thank you so much for having me on the show. And,
yeah, no problem.
And I'm really glad that I could come in here and then we had like a really cool discussion. I think like we kind of said beforehand, we'll just kind of go for an hour, but we were so like, we're just having so much fun with it. We went for a bit longer and, you know, and I do hope to come on again. And I have some more content in the background in the works. I don't want to give away anything yet.
Oh,
but,
okay.
When I have a launch, I might poke you and be like, hey man, like got something cool to show.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, it's.
But thank you for again coming on. So guys, thank you for watching. Really appreciate you stopping by. Make sure you tune in next week. I believe our guest for next week. It depends on when the GSL Season 2 qualifiers are, but at some point we're supposed to have Top come on and kind of talk to us about life after military and getting back into StarCraft. So, and talk about his girlfriend Lily and how good she is at StarCraft. So you're in for a treat for that one. So just make sure you follow us on Twitter at DankShrine and at Scythe Esports for any updates for that, and we'll let you know what's coming. But you can always look forward to a show every Wednesday. So
Top is such a good player, man.
I know.
Holy moly,
he's a good,
so good.
He's a good streamer too. I'm excited.
Oh yeah, there's got to be a good one next week.
Yeah, definitely. All right, guys, that's all for us this week. Take care and good night.